Good afternoon, everyone. We're back again with season two, Younger versus Younger again. We are 100 Years Enterprise. My name is Fahim, aka Lejon, and to my left I have who?
Patrick, aka Hamza.
Dante, aka Rakeem.
Absolutely. And again, we are 100 Years Enterprise. We're about to introduce this great topic what Patrick has for us. He's been holding the cut in the chamber. He said today was a time or perfect time to release it. And tell everyone what this topic is and why you chose it.
This topic right here is special to me because it's all about the moment my image failed and identity denied. And I picked this topic. Because as I was a young man, right, I always tried to live up to an image. And the image was what I wanted the people or the community to perceive me as, right? And what I mean by that, my negative thinking, right? As far as I can remember, right? I remember I was living in East Oakland, and I was boxing in my parking lot. I had some boxing gloves, and some young guys came over there. Man, they was from the neighborhood. I was the new guy, and they challenged me with the gloves. Told me they wanted to spar with me. So as I'm sparring with them, I took down like 3 of them in one day. So that started a
What
cycle.
you mean you took down 3 of them?
I sparred with them, and as we exchanged sparring, I got the best of them.
Yeah.
And it was clear. So it was clear.
All right.
So the following day, right, as the days and weeks perceived, right, my name permeated in the neighborhood. I was staying on 96 in Bancroft at the time, right across the street from Sunnyside Park. They start coming over to the parking lot and talking about, man, hey, man, I want that fade. And at that time, as young kids, image, you can't turn no fade down, right? And so I start boxing, and, man, it got to a point to where, I became a threat. And I was still new. I'm talking within 2 months' time in my community, right? I'm trying to fit in. And I remember this girl came knocked on my door and told me somebody liked me. And when I went over to her sister, it was her sister, when I went over to her house and knocked on the door, as soon as I opened the door, her eyes got big. And someone tapped me on my shoulder. As soon as I turned around, man, he hit me so hard, he knocked me out. I was 13 years old. I mean, he drugged me. I mean, it's like, all I seen was flashes, you know what I mean? Because I didn't even get a chance. As soon as I turned around, he knocked me out and drugged me, and they had to take me home. But that was the moment my image failed.
Yeah.
Right? And so to carry over from that, that's where my mama seen me and I screamed. And so when she screamed like that, she told me one thing that stuck with me. She said, don't never let nobody put their hands on you like that ever again. And that was my cycle. My image was denied, but that turned me into something else.
Yeah.
And I get back to that. I just wanted to share. That's so my greatest point was to share is when your image fails, it can destroy who you are. You become something that's not even you. And I took on the name Cyrene and all these handles I took on to try to live up to that. So that's why I picked this topic. I think it's a great topic because it goes into identity crisis. It goes into, young people, trying to live up to an image.
Yeah.
Hey, that's very profound. Because now as you said something, it struck a chord. When I think back in my early teens, right? And playing football for the Richmond Steelers, I was always known as a hard hitter, right? And one day I had a bicycle, I had a mongoose. Right? I had a red mongoose with the motor mags on there, with the handlebar, the bar go across and laid back seat pole. I had a clean mongoose. You remember the mongoose I had? It was clean, right? I'm at a Richmond Steelers game at Kennedy. So I'm riding towards the baseball fields, And so this dude walked up to me and he said, hey man, let me see your bike. I said, for what? I said, no, but now he had his 2 brothers with him.
Yeah.
And these dudes is grown. I'm by myself, right? He said, I said, no, you ain't finna ride my bike. As soon as I opened my mouth again, I got punched. Bow! Hit me right in my eye, right? So right when I'm finna swing and hit him, his big brother say, hit him if you want to. Right then and there, my so-called tough guy image was shattered, right? Because I had to think, if I swing, what's gonna be the consequences and repercussions behind my actions of swing, even though I knew I was in the right and they was in the wrong.
Yeah.
Am I gonna get jumped and stomped out? I think so. I didn't want to read nobody Nikes, right? And so at that time, my positive image that my mother have given me, that my grandmother and those who raised me had bestowed on me to, live your life accordingly to these rules, what will allow you to be a good child growing up, in that environment. But you said it time and time again, when we talk about bullying and we talk about just negative street life, and we talk about steering youth from making early death decisions, and what's it going to lead them, right? At that particular time, in my early teens, that was one of the triggers for me, right? Was predicated on not an act of violence that I committed on someone, but what was committed on me because I was punched. Yeah. And it led me to say, that'll never happen again. And if it do, it's going to be some more consequences behind that.
This is a deep topic, right? And the reason why I say it's deep, because we talk about identity and image. I just think about, when I was a kid, when I was in kindergarten. I don't know how old you be when you're in kindergarten, what, 4, 5, 6, 7, somewhere around there, right? I always go back because I was always a young, quiet kid. I didn't say too much, didn't really know what to say.
Yeah. But
I just go back and reflect on when the first time I got bullied. The very first time I got bullied by Antonio, may he rest in peace. He passed. He think he got killed. He used to pump fear in my heart. And when I used to see him every day, I used to break and run. Break and run to the car, because my grandmother's, we had a maid, so she used to come pick me up. And so I used to break to the car, jump in, pull out. He's like, what's wrong with you? Like somebody chased him, so she pull out. But
did you tell her why you ran?
I'm not 100% sure if I did. Didn't.
She probably knew though.
But like I say, she was the maid and she used to pick me up. So, but I never told my grandmother because she never went up to the school because there wasn't no reason to go up to the school. Right. But at that moment though, it did something to me. So, and just throughout my life, I felt that I had to protect myself, right? So I wouldn't go through being bullied, being punked. And so I thought about that. So as time went on, went to, from kindergarten to the first grade. If you looked at me, we had to fight. So now it turned into somebody else, a whole different person. So I'm not gonna let you take nothing from me. Like I said, if you look at me, we gotta fight. Right. And just throughout my life, though, I was always cool, kick back, but always somebody in my circle felt like they can take something. Right. Felt like they can steal my walkie-talkie. Felt like they can steal my motorcycle.
So with that being said, you saying that that's when your moment of image failed you every time those incidents happen, recurring themes happen in your life?
Yeah. So I had to project a whole different image now. I had to be tough. I had to be a head buster.
Because you felt something was taken away from you.
Something was taken from me. And it never failed. Always my circle, people that I called my friends. So now I had to take on a different identity now, right? Because now I'm not gonna let you take something from me. Because if you take something from me, we gotta fight, or I'm gonna bust you in the head with something. Mm-hmm. And so that's where it started for me.
So that's what I'm saying, and this is every kid's life.
Yeah.
So how do we, and this is what I'm posing on ourselves, right? How do we stop the cycle of violence, right? Disrupt the cycle of violence when we, go through this image fail. Using myself, for example, right? I carried that.
Yeah.
When I'm talking about when I was knocked out, I didn't know I was knocked out. That's how bad it was. They had to take me home. Like, I didn't know what was going on. Just somebody told me you was knocked out. So that led for me to become extremely violent, backed by my mother, right? So now, after that, I end up, through my cycle of violence, right? I end up continuing to where I ended up in prison.
Yeah.
Right? Now I had to break that cycle of violence, right? Through myself, right? Because I was in prison saying to myself, man, my image failed. I had took on a moniker of being Cyrene, right? And it led me to prison with a life sentence. I said, man, no one care about Cyrene.
Yeah.
Right.
So I had to, that's what I'm saying, the image, when my image failed, I had to say my identity denied. The board, the counselors in prison, they didn't care nothing about that. Matter of fact, they called me Cyrene. They called me Patrick, excuse me. But my point is that I had to break that cycle of violence within myself and say, you know what? My image failed me. And I had to figure out, okay, who am I?
Yeah.
And why I feel that I got to provoke violence, right? And continue to perpetuate a cycle of violence, right? On others to make my point, right? And so when I did that, I said, you know what? That point of me, that person that I pretended to be, is nothing.
Right.
And so that's why we do what we do.
Yeah.
To make people, help people understand that when your image fails, it can lead you to a cycle of violence.
Right.
So this topic is powerful, man. I'm glad that, we're able to share our point of views and, to help the communities.
It's very dynamic because when I think back and I see now with the kids, their source of entertainment is always world star hip hop, what's going on Instagram, right? These social media outlets, whatever they see, they're gravitating towards, whatever look good, whatever the flash, whatever the glamour and glow is, right? And it's all trendy. Violence has become trendy, right? Antisocial behavior has become trendy. Impulsive behavior has become trendy. So we ask ourselves, how do we interrupt all those things what leads up to what? A cycle of violence. So it goes back, we say the moment our images have changed. What form of social media attacked my image? Am I innocence? Am I pure state? Even though I was a kid, we all can identify and understand when Scarface first came out.
Yeah.
When Scarface first came out, I went to the movies to see it. Not with my peers and my friends. My mother took me to go see Scarface. And it was packed in Berkeley. I never forget. And across the street from the UA, I forgot the other movie went across the UA. But sitting up in there and seeing the destruction, what we glamorized and glorified, which is the money, the dope and everything, the special cars, the women, and how he was, his demeanor, everything. That attacked my image so hard that when this war on drugs kicked off, that I wanted to be one of the young guys say I can have a key of cocaine, right? Even though I never actually bought a key of cocaine myself, right? But I wanted that, just to say I did it. And we see that today. So how do we attack it? I believe one of the ways to attack it, to interrupt it, once we see someone who is going left, to immediately say, hey, youngster, I see what you're doing. It's a better direction. Just like yesterday when we saw him, it was great, not because he was feeling a certain way. It was just to the fact that we were able to identify what he was going through before he even opened up his mouth. Because we just want to ask him a couple of questions, how he felt, about us. And us as parents, us as pillars in the community. And for parents, it's a must that they can look inside the child, either externally to identify what their boy or girl may be dealing with at that particular time, especially after school.
And to just to carry on what you said is that us being mentors, right, and realizing this is the body work that we do, we have to engage it in a manner to identify those cues that the young men or women, right, are going through, right, through conversation, through patience, right? Gaining that trust, that bond where they can open up and share certain events by sharing our experiences. Because the way I use myself, I have come to a point in my life where it's okay, the things that I went through need to be shared if I want to be the proper mentor and coming in with the absolute truth. I gotta say, look, this is what I went through at your age. Then they can identify, wow, you did? Yeah. And this is then when I open up and share back exchange, then I can lead them down a path of how I overcame a thing. And then we can perpetuate it. We continue to say, one conversation ain't gonna do it, but it starts off with that bond where it lets them know that I understand where you come from, where you at today. You know what I mean? So I think that's very important that we, continue to emphasize that.
I'm sitting back and I'm listening to both of y'all, right? And I'm thinking about myself, because for a parent, or I'm just gonna use myself, looking at my grandparents, for them to see something was going on with me, it was kind of hard, because it was like, if I don't say nothing, they really don't know, because my behavior was, when I come around them, I'm cool. So I didn't act out or do something. They be like, "What? What's going on with you?" So I'm reflecting back, right? So this is why it's important. For like when we go to the school, this is why it's important to engaging with these kids. Tell me about who you are. Right. Tell me about what you've been through. Because a lot of times these kids, they could fool us. You might want to know what they're going through. Or we might can't identify what's going on with them. In certain cases, right? But certain kids we can. Come on, let me holler at you right quick. So that's why I'm just saying, for me, it was hard for my parents to say, Dante, we know something's going on with you, because my demeanor, when I get around them, my demeanor was always the same. Even though I was probably acting out, but they'll be like, boy, don't come up in here, don't come running up in here. You go out there and fight back, right? Because I try to get along with everybody. But if I felt that you could whoop me, I'm taking off. I'm running. I'm running in the house. They boy, what's wrong with you? Why you go on, don't come back up in here. You gotta pick up a stick. So that was the education that I was getting. So that's why I'm saying it's kind of hard in some cases to see if something going on with some of these youngsters.
Yeah. When you mentioned the thing about your grandparents missing the thing or seeing something. I remember when I had a car, I was 16 years old, maybe 15, turning 16. And my cousin told me, always park your car around the corner. So now, when it's time for me to go to school, I'm supposed to walk to the bus stop. So I'm supposed to walk up Florida to 10th Street to the bus stop. So if I'm leaving out the house and my grandparents see me leave out the house, if I'm not walking towards 10th Street, immediately a parent gonna say, okay, I don't care how good it look like I'm doing. Why does he keep walking the opposite way? So I think I'm doing good. I think I'm getting away with whatever. I go to my car, I still had the 1098, right? I'm sitting, I warm my car up, I go to my ashtray, I had half a joint. I'm finna light it. I hear a tap on the window. It's my grandmother. Talk about, boy, who car is this? And me, I say, it's my friend's car. She shook her head. She said, boy, I know you've been having this car. I've been watching you. But that wasn't the first time she ever saw me or caught me doing something. She coming from work one day, I'm in the St. John Apartments, early in the morning, 1985. She pulled up in the driveway. She caught me with a hand-to-hand sale. My hand lit in the car. Hand-to-hand sale. She's like, what you doing? I said, I'm giving somebody change for $20. Boy, no, you ain't. I say that to say this because no matter the age or what our grandparents, our mothers, they know we doing something what ain't right. They might won't say anything because we what? We're they babies. But the minute they check us with a question or what are you doing, they probably don't know the wherewithal of how to just make that change or that overall connection, what we need. but they know what we doing. And then it takes us, or it takes the village, or they may have to go to someone else. Hey, my grandchild or mama, he's out of pocket. He doing some critical things, what's going to lead him to the grave or long-term incarceration. So let's go have these talks. Let's go have these deep talks. I don't care what you feel about it, boy, but we finna have these talks.
Okay, but see, and again, right, that's beautiful. That was you was on point with that. And so the thing is, 100 years, that's our job, that's our work.
Yeah.
Steering you from early death decisions, right? Yeah. So when we take that, right, we can identify the cues. Why? Because we lived it. We walked through it. We done it. We done it way harder than them too.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That's why we can actually see where I see where you trying to start. You know what I mean? You at A. I've been through A to Z already. You at A. Man, come in, let me talk to you for a minute. Let me tell you, I see what you're doing. They start laughing every time. When we get up, they laughing. Right?
Same thing 2 weeks ago. Remember, we at the school, we had the youngster by herself. The little girl walked out the door. What did we see?
What did we see when he walked out the door?
When she walked out the door, she was looking.
Oh, she was looking at the young man.
For the exercise, but at the same time, because we went through it too.
Right.
We know what they're looking for. So us as parents, us having that lived and learned experiences, we knew how to identify. Even though she wasn't part of our class, we still was able to say, come on, be part of this, because we know what? You try to get next to him.
Mm-hmm.
Right? You try to get next to him, but you finna get next to him by being part of our class. You finna get something out of it. And I believe that's another way that we can really tap into these kids and to the youth, because we've been through the exact same things what they're going through.
And again, though, we got to engage with them, ask them questions. Like I said, because tell me who you are. You know what I'm saying yesterday, when we hold these classes, tell me a little bit about yourself. And be honest.
Mm-hmm.
What says in here stays in here.
Yeah. And why we want to know.
Because we want to know, because this is why we want to know. Because your actions, because of where you at. Just prime example, you in a continuation school. So being that you're in a continuation school, something's going on with you. Mm-hmm. So tell us so we can help you. Because if you don't say nothing, we really can't identify. I mean, some people can. Right. But like I said, I always just reflect back on myself, because even though I was a violent individual and my grandparents, they seen that, but they never, why is this boy so violent? We didn't give this boy everything.
Yeah.
They never asked me, boy, what's going on with you? And then I probably could have said, that I got bullied when I was in kindergarten.
But the image,
the image
fail.
And now hold your breath when I tell you.
The image.
It's two things we got to remember, right? The reason why we do what we do, right? The 2 points that we do what we do, and why is what? To help break the cycle of violence. Our parents might not know how to do that.
Yeah.
That's one. And two, right? To help steer you from making early death decisions.
Exactly.
Right? Because everything we did was, putting our life, like Super Dave, putting our life at risk.
Yeah.
Right? And we understand that. Our parents might have, my mom did a dance or two, cut school and all that, but she didn't take it instead, I took it. So she probably didn't know how to convey what we can convey. Right? So yeah, they might think, are you all right, boy? You're like, yeah, I'm all right. Okay, he said he all right.
And raising a boy too, at that.
Yeah. So again, man, this topic is great. We close with, stay tuned for 100 years. You can reach us at 100years.biz, our website, as well as our Instagram account is 100 years DLP, as well as what?
Follow us on YouTube, 100 Years Enterprise. And we have many things in store. We have the documentary, the docu-series coming out soon. The 3-4 part production of that. Stay tuned for that. We got Reed Media behind the production. We are 100 Years Enterprise. My name is Fahim.
I'm Patrick.
Dante.
And again, season 2, Youngin versus Young again. In the moment, my image failed, their image failed, and your image failed. All our images have failed one time in our lives. Sometimes we deny it, but here we are we here to open up and to bring you to us as we come to you.
Peace.